Yeah, we're back in Brechin, Ontario for Lumberjack competition. Not only that, but we're headed for a pig roast after the competition is over, put on by local caterer Shaw's Catering, and I'm looking forward to that. But right now, Rod, we're looking forward to the single buck. We're going to be showing you the top 5 heats, and we're starting things off with Chris Henning taking on Matt Elliott. Matt Elliott is an OPP officer from Huntsville, Ontario. He's kind of been out of the game a lot lately. He's a Sir Sanford Fleming College grad, and he's picking up his axes and saws today to get back at it.
Hope he hasn't spent a whole lot of time at the donut shops because they're sawing big wood here today. 18 inches around, poplar. Of course, usually they like to saw the white pine. It's a lot softer wood to go through, and don't have that advantage here today.
Now you can see the consistency in the wood from this picture here. They're both sawing through the exact same piece of wood.
That's what you want, of course. And of course, both men, you want to use a whole blade in the single buck. Use every inch of that saw. They cost about $1,500, so you want to make use of it all. You see, Chris Henning's got pretty good technique here using the whole blade. Actually, both guys are sawing pretty smoothly.
A couple different techniques. You see Chris Henning towering over the log. Matt Elliott is kind of dropping with it and keeping the saw parallel to the ground.
And his saw is actually filed, I'd say, a little bit better because, Bill, look how fast it's sinking compared to Chris Henning's saw, and he's down with 31.1.
Man, you haven't exactly been a regular in the circuit lately, but that was a pretty impressive show.
Yeah, not too bad for a little time off.
And just tell me how it went.
Pretty good, had a good coach, was able to borrow a good saw today, so the cut went pretty well for a little time off.
So now, have you cut with that saw before? And tell me about, if you haven't, what's it like cutting for the first time with a specific saw?
So today was the first time I've used this saw. It was pretty aggressive. I was told just to try to keep it level and go fast.
Good job there by Matt Elliott with a 30.17 and setting the time to beat. We got another OPP officer coming up here, Steve Myhills, good friend of Matt Elliott, taking on Paul Woodland from New Brunswick. Now, Rod, when you come to a competition, you know it's expensive to get involved in these shows. You don't always have your own gear. What's it like borrowing a single buck saw?
A lot tougher then, of course, to find out how the saw runs. It usually takes 3 or 4 pulls back and forth to find out how aggressive is the saw, how much is it sinking, do I need to put more speed on or more weight? So you really got to judge it as you're going with a borrowed saw.
Well, as mentioned earlier, it's 18 inches round of wood. Paul Woodland looking nice and smooth right now. Steve Myhills with a big hang up in his saw coming out of the wood. That's dangerous.
Well, you seldom see a saw come that far out of the wood. The other problem that Steve's having here, you see his feet sliding on the deck. Hard to get a lot of power in a single buck when your feet are moving all over the deck.
Should be wearing spikes on a deck like this, that is for sure. Steve Myhills wins the heat with a 31.52. So what exactly happened when you were deep into the cut and the saw came out, and you were lucky to get it back in that groove pretty quick?
Yeah, I was fortunate for that. I hit the raker with a little bit too much rock to it, and it happens. What do? Just get back into it. That's all you can do.
Kevin Moynihan, Fairport, New York. I'm a tool maker.
I'm Gaston Dupré. I'm from Saint-Henri-Taillon, Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec. I'm working for Rio Tinto Alcan, like operator.
Still, the time to beat is 31.17 set by Matt Elliott in the first heat. This next heat, we got Kevin Stumpy Moynihan from just outside of Rochester, New York, taking on Gaston Duperre from Quebec.
And Gaston Duperre always carries a file with him. He'll try his blade in the wood before the event. If it's not sawing it right, he'll actually refile his blade and look at it sinking.
Kevin really struggling at the beginning here, the first 5 or 6 cuts. He couldn't get the saw going. He's got it going right now, but he's not going to catch Gaston. His saw is really dropping.
Gaston's saw is dropping really well, but you see Gaston running out of steam here a little bit as he's sawing close to the end.
Gaston wins the heat with a 24.26. Kevin struggling to the end while he runs out of gas. You have been using that same saw for many years. Can you talk to me about that saw?
Yeah, but we have to saw differently with this saw. I know the wood is hard to do, pretty hard today. And my plan was to take a speed in first, and after try to keep my speed, and I follow my pattern.
There were no problems at all. You did very well.
Very well, but at the bottom I was a little bit tired because the speed takes a lot of energy.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'm Mike Coors. I'm from Warren, Pennsylvania, and I'm a logger.
Cecil Starr, Lake Dalrymple, Ontario. I'm a utility forester.
And you know, Rod, watching these first 3 heats, the firmness of this wood and the size of this wood, 18 inches, it's really taken its toll on these competitors.
The guys with more experience in the last few heats you've been watching, actually using their experience to their advantage. Gaston had blocks for his feet. Both these competitors have corks on their shoes. Their feet aren't moving at all. They're able to put a lot more of their energy into the stroke.
Cecil on the right-hand side, really being aggressive with that saw. You can see the head jerk right into the block, following through on every stroke. Mike Coors hanging right with them. Are they going to beat the 24-26 by Gaston?
They're running out of steam right now, getting down to the smaller wood, but Cecil pulls it through at the end.
Not quite enough to take over at first place. That saw allows you to get pretty aggressive.
Yeah, that wood's fairly firm, so you kind of had to put a bit of weight, but it's tricky. Couldn't put as much crank on it as I wanted to, but if you put too much, then you lose your speed. It's harder to gain your speed back, so I just put the burr to it. I'm running out of gas here, but I still got a little bit left, so I got to use everything I got.
So now you start off relatively parallel to the ground with your saw, but as you get deeper into your cut, you're lifting up a little bit and getting a little bit more weight behind it.
Yeah, it's kind of I haven't trained much this year with the single buck at all. Something I need to train, but I try and keep it even down all the way through the log, but that just tells me I'm not cutting my near wood as much, but lack of training is having a good day, everybody's having fun. So
Thanks, Cecil.
Thanks, Bill.
You know, one of the keys to success in the single buck is using the whole blade. You can see in that replay, Cecil actually burying the saw in the wood.
Losing the tip of it, the toe of it, right in the wood. Actually, if he had been 6 inches closer to the wood, he'd have had a perfect saw because he was actually holding out about a foot on the other end.
Well, good job by Cecil Starr, but not enough to take over Gaston, who still has a time to beat at 24-26. We got Paul Feniger taking on Marcel Dupuis. We got a Tuatai versus a Mercier.
But look already, see how fast these saws are sinking compared to the last bunch of heats that we've watched. These saws are really aggressive in this wood.
Paul Feniger a little bit slower, but really aggressive. Marcel, look at the pace on him.
Short blade, and he's using every bit of it, and sawing his fat. Oh, and he has a hang-up.
Both of them hang up at the exact same time. And my goodness, it's a photo finish. I think Feniger bought him by a hair.
Whoever it is, they just won the event.
You both hung up at the exact same time. It was a race to the finish. You both hung up, and you dropped off pretty close together. How do you feel about your cut?
Cut went pretty good. This wood isn't turned on a lathe, so when they peel the bark, you have these little ridges on the wood, and that's exactly when I came down, when I closed the window, when I was finishing my stroke, it hung right on a ridge. It caught a ridge, and then I had to work it to get it off of that ridge.
Now, the announcer mentioned you're filing your own saws these days on the single buck. Is that one of the ones you touched up and filed?
Yeah, that is one of mine that I've redone.
And tell me about it.
All I did was re-go over some angles. It was a JP Mercier single, and I they get wood dull. The teeth get wood dull over time, so they need to be touched up with a file now and again.
Well, there's nothing like ending an event with a photo finish. We got Paul Feniger taking out Marcel Dupuis by 4/100ths of a second in the single buck.
And our crown pivotal point for today focuses on Mary Dooley from New York. Usually dominant in the stock saw event, has a disappointing 14.02, finishing 5th, so she has to claw her way back to the top.
And with 4 events now complete here in Brechin, Ontario, we are 1/3 of the way through the competition. We got a great field of competitors, and it looks like it's going to be a dogfight to the end.
And the gas guzzler lumberjack of the day is Paul Feniger, auto mechanic from New York. Double winner today of the springboard chop and also the single buck.
What a great start to the competition here in Brechin. Our hats are off to Shannon O'Donnell and Cecil Starr for putting this whole show together. Hopefully it's an event that will carry on for years to come.
Paul Feniger out in front right now, the big man from New York, but you can bet your bottom dollar that Gaston, Cecil, and Marcel are not going to let him run away with it.
Come back again next time, and once again, it'll be time for Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. K100, we make water burn. Yamaha, what kind of Yamaha are you?
And I'm a logger.
And I'm a police officer.
And I am a Zumba instructor.
And I'm a groundskeeper. And I am an auto mechanic.
And I'm a natural resource specialist.
And I'm a general contractor.
I am an a la carte manager.
I'm a heavy equipment operator.
I'm working for Rio Tinto Alcan.
I'm the aquatics instructor for Medina Central School.
I'm a police officer with the OPP.
And I'm a utility arborist.
I'm a tool maker.
I'm a utility forester.
Grants Counting Assistant.
And I'm a firefighter for my job.
I'm a logger.